Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Labor Day and happy start to a new week out there. We've got really a bit of a quiet period for a lot of folks, although that will not be the case for everybody, especially as we get later on into this week. I think we're going to have a bit of a potent storm system kind of rolling on through the country, and that will definitely bring a return to some stormy weather as well as some fall-like weather behind it for some folks. Now, that's one big component to what we're talking about in this video. Also, likely a very strong hurricane to form in the Atlantic over the next couple of days, and going into this week ahead, that will likely become a major hurricane, potentially really having quite a large ceiling. So we're definitely going to need to take a look at that, talk about where it's going to go and what exactly is going to steer that storm in the future. Now, if you haven't already subscribed, definitely consider doing so, and if you like the video, definitely hit the like button, as that does help out the channel a lot. Now with all that said, let's go ahead and jump into your forecast on this Labor Day. So taking a look at satellite imagery, again, the sun's setting over the East Coast right now. We had a overall really nice day for most folks, with really the only place east of the Rockies seeing unsettled weather is kind of this patch of land here, just to the west of the Mississippi River, kind of from Louisiana up through Missouri, where kind of on the outer edge of this high pressure, we're getting a bit of that southerly flow, excuse me, helping to kick up some storms out that way. But outside of there, really, it's been quite a nice day. What is left of Gert out here is bringing some kind of cloudy weather to some of the extreme eastern sections of Maine there, but again, overall, a really nice day for just about everyone. All right, taking a look at those current watches, warnings, and radar imagery. Again, the only place we're really seeing rain is in that section here from Louisiana up through kind of the St. Louis metro, but outside of there, it's been really nice for most folks. So it has become a bit hot for some people, and we have had a bit of a fire risk as well, just due to all this dry weather we've seen recently, as well as some windy conditions back out here towards the Midwest. But outside of there, really, it's been quite nice, and we haven't had too many hazards for most people. So again, definitely watching that, but overall, pretty nice for most folks. Now, as we go into tomorrow, do expect another very hot day for a lot of folks, but you'll also notice on this map here, we're going to get a bit of a gradient to set up shop here, and that is all going to be thanks to our next storm system, which is going to work through the northern tier of the country, and with that, bringing a bit of cold air behind it, thanks to some of that drier and cooler air out of Canada. And again, we'll funnel in behind that storm system. But here in the East Coast, again, a pretty hot day, especially in the mid-Atlantic tomorrow, where we could get a lot of sunshine getting up into the mid to upper 90s for places like Richmond, Raleigh, maybe even down towards Charlotte and back towards Fayetteville and Greenville, North Carolina. Could also get pretty hot tomorrow afternoon, so definitely watching that. All right, so let's go ahead and run you through the next couple of days, radar imagery wise, as well as those dew points that we often talk about, especially this time of year. And again, overall speaking, not too much going on out there, except for kind of those folks on the outer edge of this high pressure. So going into tomorrow afternoon, we could see some, showers and storms on the edge of this high pressure, and I'll just draw that out for you here really quickly. So again, where we're getting some more of that Gulf air to kind of funnel up here on the western edge of this high, we could see some more storms fire off, much like we saw today, but I don't think it's going to be the same extent that we saw today. Today likely having a lot more rain than we will see tomorrow. Now, going into tomorrow afternoon, we do then need to begin to worry about that next storm system again, and that will all really begin to start working through the Midwest tomorrow. So the Dakotas, Minnesota tomorrow, could see some rain, even some storms possible, but what's behind that is what's going to be the good news as that drier air spills on in behind that front. All right, now as we go through our Wednesday afternoon, again, that was Tuesday I just showed you. Going into Tuesday evening, I should also add, expect some storms to fire along that front itself. So overnight Tuesday, anywhere from kind of Minneapolis back down towards Des Moines, even down towards St. Louis, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, could see some pretty strong storms roll on through, especially for kind of September standards. Some of these storms could really pack a bit of a punch. Going into Wednesday afternoon, those storms then kind of move across the Mississippi River and into the Ohio River Valley. So places like Kentucky, Ohio, back down towards Tennessee, could see some stronger storms for our Wednesday afternoon before eventually going into Thursday afternoon. That front then kind of tries to begin to roll on through the Appalachian chain, and it's at that point it has a chance of stalling out a little bit. So it could have a bit of a pretty rainy week, or at least second half of the week for some of us folks in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. All right, so the good news with this front is obviously the dew points are going to come down behind it with that cooler, drier air. So again, getting muggy out there again for a lot of folks here in the east over the next couple of days. But after whatever line of storms kind of roll on through with that front, things really begin to become a bit more fall-like. So taking a look here at, let me actually back this up a little bit into Wednesday afternoon, sorry. All right, this is Wednesday afternoon and evening. Again, pretty defined front here. This is that low pressure. This is that front where behind it, obviously, those dew points getting down into the 40s and even 30s, helping to really make that air feel a lot more comfortable for a lot of folks back out into the plains. Now, as this continues to march eastward, it won't bring that same effect quite to everyone, but will definitely bring at least some sort of relief to a lot of folks. All right, so let's go ahead and zoom this picture out a little bit and kind of just take a look at the continental United States as a whole. So going through this week, again, that storm system is the big story. Going into Wednesday afternoon, we talked about that. Going into our Thursday afternoon, again, I think this kind of begins to kind of work into the Appalachian chain. Again, this is the storm system itself. This is that front that will begin to work on through. Again, bringing in that drier, cooler air behind it, but kicking off storms in front of it. So up through the northeast, down through the mid-Atlantic, could see some storms on Thursday afternoon, and that could continue into the weekend as this front kind of stalls out a little bit. So Friday afternoon, maybe a lot of the same folks seeing that rain again in the northern mid-Atlantic, through the northeastern states, and maybe even into our Saturday as well, seeing that rain continue along the eastern seaboard before eventually I think that front finally gets pushed out, and going about a week to 10 days out, we could get a bit of a more potent front to move on through, and that will really help to kind of kick out the other front and bring in some relief from that heat and humidity. So definitely watching out for that. All right, so taking a look at the dew points here again this week, expect those dew points to come crashing down as that front moves on through, but those of us along the eastern seaboard unfortunately could kind of get trapped on the more muggy side of that front. It'll be a close call for a lot of folks, but I think most of us will definitely at least get some relief with dew points getting back into the 40s and 50s for most of us here in the east, especially along the Ohio River Valley. It's those of us, again, east of the Appalachian chain that could kind of get trapped a little bit with some of that Atlantic moisture still hanging around in the air before, I think in the long range, finally we get a more potent front to come on through and beat down that humidity a good bit. All right, so that's what we're seeing back at home. Taking a look at the Atlantic Basin, this is where we have some of those tropical things that we need to talk about. So looking out there right now, again, there's a couple things to note. This is what's left of GERT spinning away. Again, no threat, and it is now post-tropical, meaning it has lost kind of that warm core, and it is now just attached to some fronts and other sorts of weather systems, so we can't quite call it a tropical system anymore. But really the one thing I want you to watch on this map is what I have circled here. This is Invest 95L, and this is likely going to become a major hurricane as we go through this week. In fact, looking at it right now on satellite, you can tell it's already got some pretty impressive kind of flow here, and you'll notice that is definitely kind of already taking on some of those tropical characteristics, and will continue to do so, and again likely form into a hurricane as it works off generally towards the Lesser Antilles and likely going north of there. So definitely need to watch out for that guy, and he is the big story right now. All right, so taking a look at kind of the other things in the Atlantic. Again, GERT, not too big of a deal right now. That's spinning away and kind of moving away. We also have our K-name storm out here. This is also already fizzled out. This, though, is the big area at 95L. There's another area behind that as well we'll have to watch as that works out into the Atlantic over the next couple of days. But that, you know, is a bit further out, so we're really going to just focus our attention on 95L in this video, as that is the one that really has the biggest threat to property and life, so definitely need to talk about that one. Now, taking a look at the overall path and strength of this thing, this is our European ensemble members, and again, pretty good agreement actually among the ensembles here that this will likely continue to trek off towards generally the United States. Luckily, will likely skirt kind of north of most of the islands out here as well. Now, the more unfortunate part of this story is how strong this storm is likely to get. Very high ceiling on this guy. As you'll notice with our ensembles here, a lot of pink on the map as you get out here towards kind of the Bahamas. That tells me that the ensembles are in very good agreement. This will likely get above 100 knots in wind speed, and that would make it a major hurricane, likely even potentially a strong major hurricane. Could it hit Category 4, maybe even stronger, just because the conditions are so ripe out here for development. So definitely need to watch that. Now, the good news is most of our models kind of begin to turn this north before it gets to the Bahamas or the southeastern coastline. So that's the good news. The one thing that we need to watch out for, though, is this is still quite a long ways out, and there's a lot of weather patterns up in the upper atmosphere that are going to change between now and then in our models, which could affect the track of this. So Right now, the most likely scenario is that this does kind of go out here near the Bahamas and Bermuda and then turn north and go out to sea. But there's also other scenarios that are possible that this could turn north and then potentially get kind of shoved back towards the United States a little bit, then maybe back out to sea, or some other paths that could potentially bring it a bit closer to home, and would definitely be a very big story, especially considering how strong the storm is expected to get. So we'll definitely watch out for that. But right now, all things are kind of hinting to the fact that this will be a very strong storm, although luckily most likely not a direct threat to land. But of course, stay tuned because things can change in a heartbeat here with these storm systems. Alrighty, so that's all I've got for you on this Monday and on this Labor Day. Hopefully there's a little bit of useful information in here for you. Again, overall quiet week, but we do have a front moving on throughout the week that will definitely bring some unsettled weather to some folks and also some fall-like weather for others. So that will definitely be nice for you folks that are able to cash in on some of those lower temperatures and dew points. And I'll definitely be hoping that can really cross the Appalachian chain and help us out in the mid-Atlantic as well. With that said, though, again, have a great rest of your 3-day weekend as it's beginning to wind on down, and I will see you all next time.